We've got a Christmas bonus for you. We're unwrapping a holiday treat that's equal parts fairy tale, slapstick, and cinematic time capsule. Long before TV Christmas specials became tradition, Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy marched us into a whimsical toyland filled with crooked villains, wooden soldiers, and gentle chaos. Is it a children's fantasy, a comedy classic, or something wonderfully in between? Let's find out why this film still earns its place alongside the tinsel and the twinkling lights. Next, on the best television you never saw. So, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you. I'm Greg Koseluk with Glenn Mitchell, and we're back again. But before we start unwrapping this gift, we'd like you to hit those like buttons and those subscribe buttons and anything else. If you're feeling violent, hit whatever you want. But
we are your YouTube punch bags. You know.
Yes. So, yes, we're obviously full of holiday cheer right now.
And whiskey.
Where's mine? Here we go.
Yeah, so, I don't have it. I never touch the stuff really. But mine is pending. Mine will appear at some point of the proceedings.
That's right.
Its actual arrival may be concealed by a clever edit.
But if you hear rapping, it's not leftover from the Randall and Hopkirk episode. It's just a Christmas delivery of cheer to the Mitchell household in St. Wreatham's. So,
I think I just heard it actually. I was excellently cued.
Oh,
yeah, yeah, we are. Is anybody there?
Do you need to go or?
I don't think I do. I was told I don't need to, but there will be extraneous noises.
It's sad when a husband becomes extemporaneous. It's don't need them, but they're nice to have. But anyway,
it's quite nice to have him in the living room.
So let's unwrap this holiday televisual feast. Usually we do television, but I think most people nowadays would have seen this movie on television via video or television. When's the first time? Of course, we're talking about Laurel and Hardy's Babes in Toyland, or as it's known quite familiarly. I didn't say that right. You say it. As it's known.
No, I'm on borrowed teeth.
But as it's known over here, March of the Wooden Soldiers is how it often appears. But
yes, among other aliases, of course, it's had a few.
Yes. One that I thought was very strange is it Revenge is Sweet?
The very one I was thinking of, yeah.
Yeah. It was just kind of a, it doesn't. March of the Wooden Soldiers makes sense, and of course it was based on the Victor Herbert's Babes in Toyland, which is the property that Hal Roach bought.
Dates from 1903 originally, long before the film.
Yeah, and
digression.
It had quite an interesting journey to get to the screen, didn't it?
It did. Apparently, it was first mooted for the screen in 1930 at RKO with B.B. Daniels and Wheeler and Woolsey, with one section to be shot in Technicolor. And apparently the only reason they didn't do it was because it was somewhere into 1930 and the boom in musicals had just suddenly gone. People were staying away from them. So they thought, okay, no more musicals. It stayed that way for about 3 years, I think, when 42nd Street broke the barrier again. Musicals were somewhat taboo from mid-1930s, so Babes in Toyland was dropped. So, and there was also talk apparently of Disney's doing a feature-length animation of it before Snow White. Again, that didn't happen. Of course, Disney did do a live-action version many years later, but that wasn't until the early 60s. But so yeah, I mean, it had been mooted, but Hal Roach went to New York and negotiated the rights to the musical comedy. Went back to Culver City with plans in hand, and he apparently devised a scenario on the train journey back. And it wasn't one that Stan Laurel liked.
Yeah,
There
he
was an
he was
immediate
really
clash.
he was really enthusiastic about it, though. He thought this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
Uh,
he really thought he bought a worthwhile property, and he had. It was a lovely score, but what it didn't have was a plot. The original stage show, just a series of musical scenes, no story as such. And Roach devised one, which had an awful lot to do with Laurel and Hardy, bringing sweetness and light, really separating love from hate. Dan Laurel thought it was a bit, sappy, and didn't care for it, and there was a dispute between them. And I didn't know until relatively recently that apparently the big mistake was that Roach made the mistake of arguing the point with Stan Laurel in front of his team rather than doing it in private. And that's why it became such a big row.
it really was the beginning of the end for that relationship, even though it lasted another 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, it's just that the enthusiasm there, at least from Roach's point of view, really, from then on, he didn't really want to make any more Laurel and Hardy pictures. He continued to do so for a while. And, they worked things out sufficiently to be able to do that. He always maintained that he didn't want to do them anymore. I think perhaps he was exaggerating, perhaps conflating in his memory a little. I don't know. But the beginning of the end was certainly that. They got on fine until that moment. That's when the relationship began to deteriorate, which didn't do either side any good ultimately. Great shame, but
Yeah, no, it did, because it worked so well up until then, and even afterwards, despite the falling out.
yeah,
Anyways, Roach came back. I've read some of the ideas that he had, and quite a bit different is things about the villain turning into a spider, or a spider turning into the villain.
yeah,
Yeah,
which sounds more like the sort of thing you do in animation rather than live action, doesn't
yeah,
it? It'd be easier to do, put it that way. But achieving that in live action, well, you could do it, but maybe if you were Georges Méliès, you'd find it an everyday occurrence. But
and it and in the actual filming of it was quite difficult too. I read stories of a lot of people getting injured, production starting and stopping. The script wasn't the way they wanted it, and then they
uh,
went on again, and then people
Stan
were
Laurel
getting
getting a
hurt.
Stan Laurel getting a convenient case of flu and absenting himself, and everybody knew he wasn't really sick. He just wanted to get away for a bit, and everybody, it seems, yeah, there were people being injured, which wasn't super, and even just a general atmosphere that I think meant people were behaving out of character. People perhaps who would normally be very nice were not behaving so well. I mean, the best known example of that maybe was the recollections of Felix Knight, who plays the romantic lead Tom Tom. His memories of Oliver Hardy from this were very bad. He felt that Hardy was not behaving like a nice guy at all. Because Knight was also from the South as well as Hardy. And he said something like, there were good guys from the South and bad guys from the South, and Hardy was one of the bad guys. And apparently he really wasn't being very nice. But this doesn't match any of the other accounts of his conduct from any of the other films and any of the other people. And I just get the impression that the atmosphere was just so bad on the set of Babes in Toyland that, he was just not in a good mood and wasn't behaving so well. Very much an aberration for him because everybody else always said what a charming, courteous man he was, a nice guy. So, but not on this occasion. So it's like the Babes in Toyland thing was affecting everybody's behaviour, I think. And I remember hearing an account of the making of this film in I think it was a radio piece or something, but they actually but didn't mention any of these problems. Actually said it was a happy film. And I listened to this and I thought, you're kidding. Making it was one of the most miserable experiences of their lives. But somehow, yeah, despite the delays, they got it made. I mean, they even fired the old elderly actress playing Mother Peep. It was originally Margaret Seddons, and she got fired some way during production, And there are some stills of her in the part, as well as of Florence Roberts, who finally had the role. And so they must have shot some footage with her. But no, when even Mother Peep gets fired, you know there's trouble.
Well, and King Cole winds up in the hospital.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because he had to laugh so much. He strains his stomach muscles and put him in the hospital.
Yes, quite a bit there to strain, of course. Was that QP Morgan?
QP Morgan, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, who went through Lord knows what at Senate, all these terribly strenuous activities that Senate had him do without pulling a thing, as far as I can tell. But sitting there doing that apparently was too much, which suggests that this was rather an ill-starred project.
Yeah,
Somehow.
but the thing is, it turned out so wonderful.
I know the result is so lovely. It does not in any way reflect the Herculean struggles to get it made, and the terrible acrimony. None of this
Well,
shows in the final picture.
yeah, and I believe Stan Laurel went on to consider it one of his favorite of their films.
He did, and he actually said that his only regret about it was that it wasn't made in colour, because of course very elaborate sets and costumes. I wonder, though, if that was him really having a dig at Hal Roach's comments about the picture, because Roach effectively disowned it.
Yeah, Roach said it was one of the worst films ever made, and Stan Laurel one of the best. So
yeah, and he was saying how it got banned in places and all that sort of thing, or was heavily censored. Well, it wasn't. I don't think it was banned. It was subject to cuts even at the time, certainly in this country, because years ago, I was supplied with a copy of the cutting continuity, which for new viewers is a complete typescript of a movie, broken down shot by shot with all the action and dialogue noted and footage and all that sort of thing. And it's prepared for in-house repairs to the negative and for the use of censors to mark for cuts. And this particular copy of the continuity had been that handle used by the British Board of Film Censors. And how this came to me via other parties, I have never quite known. But anyway, this copy shows the original 1934 edit for this, but it's been marked in blue pencil or something by the UK censor. I know from this exactly what was taken out at the time. And you'll be unsurprised to learn that this was from the Bogeyman section, which we're perhaps getting a little ahead of here. But
they thought it was too scary, violent, or
there was some fairly grisly stuff in there. Yeah, I mean, maybe so we're getting a bit too far ahead here, but ultimately the big climactic scene of Babes in Toyland is the battle where the attacking bogeymen, led by the wicked old Barnaby, are seen off by the huge wooden soldiers that Stan and Ollie have made by mistake. Yeah, Santa Claus wants what was it? 600 soldiers at 1 foot high.
600 soldiers 1 foot high.
1 foot high. Yeah, and he gets 100 soldiers 6 foot high because
I thought you said 100 soldiers 6 foot high. Yeah.
I couldn't give those to my children. But of course, they come in very handy.
Yes.
And you've got things like these 6 foot toy soldiers bayoneting the bogeymen. And there's another one where one of the soldiers gets his head knocked off, and he carries on forging ahead without his head.
Yeah.
those things, and the censors looked at this and thought, we couldn't show this to our children, to paraphrase Santa Claus. Yeah.
Well, the set. Let's backtrack a little. The set is marvelous. It's just because they built Toyland, and they have. It looks like the buildings swing open like a doll's house. There's the old woman who lives in the shoe, and all the Mary quite contrary, Bo Peep, and
Simple Simon.
Simon, who was originally in Hal Roach's version was supposed to be Stan Laurel.
Stan Laurel, yeah. And in this it became Stanley Dunn and Ollie D, and which is a bit of a step away from the intended casting. Simple Simon, was that Charlie Rogers?
Sure.
And you know,
But the
I don't
um,
know.
yeah, the thing is though that Hal Roach originally thought this is the big one, and he was going to put all his players into it, Charlie Chase and and everyone else.
Yeah, Chase missed it through illness again. He because of his gastric problems. He was supposed to be in this and was off sick, so he couldn't do it.
So,
So he,
but as it turned out, it really is, and I think you and I, aside from podcasts, have mentioned that it is one of the few films that really do improve through colorization.
almost the only one in my view. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The rest of them, no. Okay,
yeah,
sometimes they're nice and quite effective. This is the one I feel that actually benefits from it.
and the it just brings out all the details of the set and the characters and the costumes and even the bogeymen. You know,
Even then, yeah, even then, and of course there were two color versions of this, at least. I was aware of them being two put out on DVD. Different companies did it,
yeah.
and
I have the one that Goldwyn put out, the Good Times version.
right, yeah. I mean, they're both very good. The distinction between, as far as I'm concerned, is just a matter of individual preference.
Hmm.
One of them is more pastel, gentle than the other. One of them is, I forget which is which, but one of them is quite bright and very toy-like to look at, and very strong. The other one is subtler, um, is more restrained, more like you'd imagine perhaps an original colour motion might have looked like. I don't know. But say which one you go for in that respect is purely a matter of taste. They're both very good. In each case, the film benefits immeasurably. One of the two, though, has the original title. The other one, I think, is still got the Wooden Soldiers reissue title. One of them has the original Hal Roach titling, Babes in Toyland, and the MGM line at the beginning and so on. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I looked at any of these. But because of course it was reissued in the 50s as March of the Wooden Soldiers. And
Yeah, and and that was the one that if you grew up in the New York metropolitan area as I did, it was it marked the beginning of the Christmas season because it was always shown about 11 or 12 o'clock in the middle of the day on Thanksgiving Day on Channel 11 WPIX, and it was March of the Wooden Soldiers. And there were quite a few cuts that I didn't see. You didn't see the Mother Goose opening coming out and singing, coming out of the big book that says "Babes in Toyland," and singing the opening song. It went right into the I guess the tableaus of the different characters.
yeah, yeah.
So
And there are a couple of other songs taken out from the body of the picture as well.
they took out yeah.
Was
I
Castles
think
in Spain cut from that one?
I think it
Or
was Castles in Spain, which my wife always doesn't enjoy that song because she says if they're in Toyland and the only way to get out is through Bogeyland, how's he going to take her to Spain? How do they even know of Spain? So,
yeah, quite. You can't even sneak in through Portugal. I mean, it can't be done.
well, I
But
guess maybe that would make if you're going to follow the analogy through that would make Spain or France Bogeyland. Who knows? But
well, I mean, far be it from me. No, I'm rather a Francophile, so I'm not going to say that. Far too many French movies here, I'm not going but but yeah, so that doesn't make sense. But there was at least one other one, and there was some action I think cut from it, and wasn't there the fist fight between Tom and Barnaby or something that hit the deck? I'm not sure.
yeah, the in the cave and there's also a line that I didn't see until, I mean, I'd seen it, well, every time it was on every year. So I probably had seen it at least a dozen times. And for some reason, the scene where they're going to have, they're getting ready for the wedding. And Ollie says, Stan's so upset he's not going. You are upset, aren't you? And Stan says, upset?
Said, I'm housebroken.
I'm housebroken.
Housebroken.
That was never in the cuts that we saw.
Wasn't
They
in
took
there.
out that one gag, and I thought that was it's one of the best ones.
Yeah, it's a vulgar gag, but it's not that terrible. I mean, basically, this version was not shown on television in Britain. We didn't know it at all. And in fact, it was hardly shown anyway, because, like a lot of things which were perennials on US TV and people grew up with, saw them as kids and continue to see them as they grew up, they were not seen here. I mean, we don't know the Our Gay Little Rascals much in Britain at all. It's only a film collector's thing here. Nobody, public don't know them. They haven't been known in Britain since they were new. But, because the TV people, the TV generation didn't get them. With rare exceptions. The Three Stooges, again, really, they were not the TV perennials here that they were in America. They didn't start to get too much exposure here until Channel 4 started showing them in the 80s. The kids of the 50s, 60s, 70s weren't seeing them, and Babes in Toyland wasn't shown. I don't think it turned up on TV in Britain until, what was it, Christmas 73, 4? ITV had it, and they didn't have the Wooden Soldiers version. They had the Auerbach release, which was on the main title, just said Laurel and Hardy in Toyland. And that was an alternate reissue, different reissue. But the only thing missing from that was the first part of the opening song with Mother Goose, Toyland. The first part of that was gone. But certainly Housebroken was in there. Castles from Spain, Geographical Anomalies Aside was also in there. I don't think there was anything else missing. And that was the one that also turned up in home movie form and early on home video. In fact, that was the first time I saw Babes in Toyland was on an 8mm print of that version. Picked it up second hand in about 1974, I think. So it has been Christmas 74 it's first on TV, because it had been shown on TV yet. Was it 73? Anyway, I'm old. But here's the thing. I've got this bagged up here. It's been bagged up for convenience, but how's this? Now, what we have here, there are 5 200-foot cartons here. Now, these 4 are the main standard 8 feature print that I picked up as an adolescent and first saw Babes in Toyland. What I didn't know until a little while afterwards, though, that they cut the first Laurel and Hardy scene, the business in the the business with the
Feather in the bed.
No, that was there.
Okay.
The first main scene, the business with the peewees and that sort of thing.
I fell out the window and all that.
Lord. No, I think that's the first time you. No, the first time you see them, come to think of it, is in the toy shop. You don't see them before that with fell out the window and that sort of thing. And Ollie wanted to know about what he's spending the money on, the peewees.
These
all
peewees.
all that was missing, and I didn't know about it until it turned up on TV. And it was from the same version, but it was in there. But just that 8mm copy had got it missing. Many, many years later, what did I find? But a 2-reel section of it, part 1, from the same people actually, but with that scene in there, intact. But it's Super 8, so I can't intercut them. Well, I've got them packaged up together anyway. And, so yeah, that's how I first saw it. And it was a much better version than the familiar March of the Wooden Soldiers edition that was familiar in the States. Oh, subsequently, by the way, the Toyland version, as per that 8mm, made its way onto early commercial VHS in Britain, and this is one of them. It was also on the Philips format, but here it is. Not to be confused with this later VHS from another source, which is the March of the Wooden Soldiers version. But, so there we go. I'm going to put these back over to one side now and stop obscuring the screen with them.
Well, it's kind of interesting that so many versions wound up because How did it happen to fall out of copyright with, or did it fall out of copyright? Because you've got, well, I guess it's they did the reissue. I guess it was Real Art
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
'50s,
yeah, it's
which
very kind of,
I didn't take it off the wall. I have a lobby card from that from March of the Wooden Soldiers. Um,
yeah. I mean,
but
Roach sold it in the 40s, apparently.
okay, so and then Disney did their versions, which kind of took care of the title.
Yeah, I think that the changes were happening in between because the rights to it passed to different people who wanted another crack at it. Apparently, I didn't know this until recently. It was acquired at one point in the 40s by Boris Morris, who produced The Flying Deuces, Laurel and Hardy
Hmm.
went out through RKO, and William LeBaron, who was W.C. Fields' mentor at Paramount. They wanted to do another version of it about 1949 or something, and they couldn't get the script past the production code, which makes me wonder how the Roach version had squeezed in just post code. You know,
Yeah.
if they thought the subject matter was inappropriate, they must have scraped it, or perhaps things had got a bit strict about them. But either way, that apparently that fell through, and there seemed to be other people along the way different people who'd acquired rights and in different territories. So I think suddenly somebody owned the movie in one part of the world, somebody else might have owned it in America, or something. I don't understand it all. It's far too complex, frankly. A bit of a muddied history. And what I do remember is that the Laurel and Hardy and Toyland version showed up a few times over here on the ITV network or different ITV regions between about 73, 74. And then the last showing, I think in July of 1982, shown in London. Then slam, that was it. No more. I remember reading or hearing at the time that suddenly been a rights issue over it. ITV felt they couldn't show it anymore because somebody had appeared from somewhere saying, "Hey, that's our film. You're not allowed to screen this," so ITV stopped showing it. Not that they showed it very often, but that was the last ITV outing in July '82. Then we didn't see anything more of it until uh, the DVDs started to appear. The old 8mm went the way of 8mm, and the early home video editions disappeared. Or at least the colourful one I showed you there did. I thought I'd heard eventually that somebody decided it was actually public domain, and a few DVD labels have put it out, but I hear from elsewhere that it isn't necessarily. I don't know. Do you know what its status might be?
I always assumed that one of the reasons they colorized it was to copyright a new version.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
which would have cleared up that issue for whoever wanted to put it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And of
But
course, I was
oh,
saying
sorry, go ahead.
one of the great things about this though is when they were going back to 35mm master material to do something like that. After all these chopped up in different ways copies we'd seen over the years, what did they find? I think it was the Library of Congress, but a pristine, fine-grained positive, absolutely complete, seemingly mint condition, and with all the main titles and everything intact. And that became available, and was a, that was a wonderful result. The fact that this came back and was made available to us. The fact that you could get it in a nice colour version was, well, a bonus, certainly. Getting the full movie back in its original state after all those years of mutilation was a decided step forward. So at least we can enjoy it as people would have done in 1934.
Now, how would you rate it as a Christmas movie?
Well, it's a great Christmas movie.
Which is why we're doing this right now,
Yeah,
right? We're not
absolutely.
doing this.
It's tailor made. I mean, in this country with the pantomime tradition, it's often compared to those. Yes, it is very much in the spirit of British Christmas pantomimes, and with Stan Laurel behind it to a large degree. This is no accident. He was looking for that. But after all, when they were supposedly going back to Roach Studios in the 50s to do TV movies, what he was drafting up there was very much in the same spirit as the Christmas pantomimes. and could be seen as a sort of descendant of Babes in Toyland in a way. Um, so yeah, I think because he'd been in pantomime as a youngster in Britain, and he knew the tradition, and I wouldn't have been a bit surprised if he just fancied replicating that in his work with Laurel and Hardy. And so yes, in that regard, certainly from a British point of view, it's an ideal Christmas movie, but it seems to me that it's seen the same way in North America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, like I said, it was at least in our area the start of the Christmas season, and but it didn't. I don't think it played many other places because, I mean, just 100 miles away in the Philadelphia area, I had a lot of friends they'd never seen it.
Right.
So,
Right.
but it has all the elements. It has, of course, Toyland, Santa Claus. You
Oh
know,
yes, especially that aspect. Yeah. I mean, there's the man himself doing his job on camera. How
yeah,
Christmassy can a movie get?
right, right, and of course, but the irony is that it takes place in July,
Yes.
and the only reason we know that is because Stan and Ollie, in an attempt to get the mortgage on the shoe back from the evil Barnaby, they deliver a oversized Christmas present to
Yes.
Barnaby one night. It says, "Do not open until Christmas." And
Yes.
of
And
course, inside is Ollie hiding to wait and go to bed. And Barnaby says, "A Christmas present in July?"
oh yes, we always do a Christmas shopping early. And of course,
Well,
they've done that gag in Chickens Come Home.
that's right. And of course, then he says, "That's very nice of you."
It is, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah. We
uh,
can't play the clips. We'd get in trouble probably if we
yeah,
played the clips. But we can, if you got 90 minutes, we can do the whole film for you.
we could. We probably could. Yeah, you can do the Bo Peep songs though. I'm
Well,
more in bass baritone mode these days.
the one thing that let's speak about the leads aside from Laurel and Hardy. You had Charlotte Henry,
Tart Henry,
uh,
who had starred in Alice in Wonderland the year before.
Paramount's Alice in Wonderland, uh, with all the great stars of Paramount, totally disguised in
Yes,
in hideous costumes, but she was fully uh,
yeah, she was visible at least.
recognizable because
Yeah,
she didn't have much of a costume on.
no, didn't matter the way of eyebrows either. One of the critics noted how this supposedly small child had carefully plucked eyebrows.
So then of course there's her, and then there's Tom Tom,
Felix Knight, who I mentioned earlier,
Felix
yeah,
Knight.
yeah, who also
Um,
crops up in The Bohemian Girl a
that's
while
right.
later in some of the reshot stuff, I think, because they had to recut that to minimise Thelma Todd's part after she died, and I think Knight was brought in to shoot an additional bit, one of the things just to cover, for the cuts. But this is
But
his.
he went on to quite a good operatic career. But I read recently that Stan Laurel, years and years later, commented to someone about his horrendous acting skills, which it's quite true. He's not a terribly good actor.
No,
He's fine as a hero, and he has a nice fight with Barnaby and that sort of thing.
yeah, he
But
carries that off okay. But
yeah,
but
no,
you don't need Laurence
nobody's.
Olivier for this.
Yeah,
You don't
no.
need Laurence Olivier for this
Can
part.
you imagine Laurence Olivier as Tom Tom? That would be interesting.
I can imagine him. I can't think of Olivier in this sort of context, at least, without thinking of Peter Sellers. Olivier as Richard III. And, imagine him doing the Tom Tom part in that sort of declamation. Come, come, Bo Peep. There's no reason to fear Barnaby.
uh,
I can't do it today.
no, but
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 Barnaby. Sorry, yes.
Barnaby, oh, marvelous. Of course, Barnaby was Henry Brandon, or as he was known then,
Harry Kleinbach originally.
Harry Kleinbach, right from
Yeah,
born in Germany, moved here when he was very young. But he was playing he came to Hal Roach's
Well, it's attention by
yeah
he was
attention. Yeah,
uh,
he was in The Drunkard.
yeah, the famous melodrama that was being revived at the time in around the LA area.
Yeah, Strictly for Laughs.
Yeah, very tongue in cheek. Yeah,
Yes,
and of course we see W.C. Fields using that in the old-fashioned way. This
right. The same
barnstorming
year.
production. Same,
Right.
yeah,
So
and he had the lead in this, and that's what got him the part as Barnaby. He was only 20,
yeah,
and
uh,
apparently there were older actors who complained to him at the time about him getting this role instead of it going to a real old man. And yeah, as he pointed out, a real old guy couldn't have done the physical stuff he had to do in that film.
no.
It had to have been a younger man disguised, made up, because a real old guy couldn't do it. I am a real old guy, and I wouldn't like to try it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to fight with Tom Tom or lead any bogeymen. So
No, quite. No, I'd rather sit down with a cup of tea. I did meet Henry Brandon a couple of times, actually. First time was at a Sons of the Desert convention in Britain in 1984. And the second time was shortly afterwards, a couple of months later, by chance. I happened to be at an airport seeing off a relative, and I bumped into Henry Brandon, who was still this side of the Atlantic and had made a side trip to Europe. I think he'd come back from the Netherlands or something. And I just ran into him at the airport and start for a quick chat with him. So it's a total accident, but um, I do have a souvenir of the first meeting. Here's a bit of Babes in Toyland trivia.
ah
Yes, which I don't know if you see many of these days, but there was
no,
a soundtrack album that was put out in whenever it was put out, and I got him to inscribe it for me because I knew I was going to be meeting him, so I have this with me, and a very nice inscription just there,
old Barnaby. Yeah,
Barnaby. I
yeah,
thought it was
excellent.
quite nice. Yeah. Um, so so yeah, I've got Barnaby's
Did you
autograph.
did you happen to slip a hand into his pocket and get the mouse trap on your fingers?
I
Big
still bear the scars.
big bait catches big
Big
rat.
rat.
Oh, and the thing is
Yeah.
that his delivery is. I mean, he knew that going into it, he was going to play it as broadly as he had played the drunkard, as he played the Squire Cribbs in the drunkard,
Yeah,
and
and
it
of course,
really is marvelous. It's they the three of them work so well together.
very, very much, and also, of course, from Henry Brandon's point of view, very, very effectively for a man who was unused to making films. He was from the stage, and he wasn't used to filmmaking practice, and he had an idea of what we might call conventional filming, but obviously not the Laurel and Hardy way of doing it, because apparently, when they first started shooting, Stan Laurel had grouped everybody together and said, okay, right, I'm going to do this. I want you to do that. You do that. You do that. You do that. So, right, off we go. And Rolo. And Brandon was a bit thrown by this. And they said, well, aren't we going to rehearse? And Stan sort of looked into him and said, do you want to spoil it? So, yeah. So apparently they didn't rehearse it and they didn't spoil it. So,
No,
but no, he was used to, Stan Laurel was used to being very much improvisation and just go for it. And of course, Brandon, straight from the theatre, was used to rehearsing. And under normal circumstances in picture making, yes, you do. Not this time. But some performers just like that. You'll get the best well on that initial rush. Repeat it, and everything just subsides. So, yeah. Some instinctive performance. And of course, I guess there are some others also who just want to get the thing out of the way so they go away and do something else. Yeah.
so I mean, it's just such a great film filled with so many gags. What are some of the best ones that come to?
Oh, we've mentioned some of them. I mean, the
Yeah,
housebroken gag for one thing. And
I fell out the window.
out the window.
I thought I left you upstairs. How'd you get down here? I fell out the window. You know.
And of course, we've got the big reveal thing where Stan is substituted for Bo Peep, the bride. Barnaby thinks he's married Bo Peep, and of course it's actually Stan is under the veil. And there's all that business where, as far as he's concerned, it isn't valid. They just fooled him. But of course, Ollie takes it seriously and tells him, "You got to stay here with Barnaby. You're married to it."
Well, goodbye and good luck.
There's a twist on the end of Our Wife, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, I stepped on the line. I don't want to stay here.
Yeah.
Why not?
I'll let you do it. I can't remember the exact phrasing.
Because I don't love him.
You don't love him. Yeah, tactfully they end it there.
Yeah.
But
it breaks into tears. So
yeah. But there's just so much in there that's to be savoured, shall we say. I'm hard put to pick too many moments from it. All the business, it's quite fun. The business with the Pee-wees, which is actually an old genuine North Country game thing. And, I don't think it's necessarily called that, but it might be. But yeah, you've got these things with these sort of like little
tubes,
little lozenge
tapered
things
on the ends,
tapered at each end. You thwack it with a stick,
Well, I went to a Suns convention in New York in 1994, and they had a Pee-wee contest.
Yes.
So, which I did not enter because I'd lost all mine playing with little Jack Horner. So.
Yeah, I've seen one or two done at conventions over here. I steer clear. I think I'd be a menace.
The dunking of Ollie.
Ollie, yeah. Oh yes, the business where yes, said there's to be dunked, and with this huge timber contraption that dumps him into the pond.
Dunking stool and then dumps it in the pond.
Yeah, and the nice touch with the watch. Ollie says to take care of his watch, and finally, of course, once he's been gone through and he's let off the hook, and
before Stan gets dunked,
for it Stan's turn, and of course Ollie, having got soaked, insists that Stan should go, and he gives him a hefty shove, splosh, and of course Ollie laughs his head off along with everybody else, and of course Stan gets up soaked. He says, "Ollie, what? Here's your watch."
I wouldn't have anything to happen to that to the world.
Yes. Funny thing, you mentioned that scene. Reminds me of a nice little, adjunct, I guess, a trivial thing to mention. But the trailer, the original theatrical trailer, survives and is available. It turns up on some of the DVDs at least.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that scene's represented in there without the score. The incidental score hasn't been added to it. It's just the basic soundtrack. So the music doesn't run under it, so it just sounds as it was shot in the studio. And there's some other bits and pieces in it, as is often the case actually with trailers, that aren't in the final cut. There's the part of the big battle, soldiers versus bogeymen. There's at least one shot in there that we don't see in the movie itself. And you'll see a lot of sort of ancillary folk. There are like ambulance trucks and nurses, field nurses, and bits and pieces to do with them that you see coming in, which were not used in the final edit, but they're in the trailer. So there we go. So if you get the chance to, if you don't know it, if you lay hands on the trailer, have a look.
And of course the great finale of the film.
Yes.
With the actual march of the wooden soldiers. And I mean, I don't know why, but it's one of those scenes that always strikes a chord in me and just it takes me back to probably when I was 4 years old. I hear that music, I see them, and just it's something that just is so it strikes a chord in me I can't explain.
I know what you mean. It's something stirring, and
Yes.
something here leaps a little.
Hmm.
That I
Yeah.
get that, and I wasn't as young
And
as you when I first saw it. It takes me back to when I was about 15, maybe, but my family was still alive, and yeah, and I'm back to that time then
mhm.
with that action, this this emotional moment and the music of it. Yeah, it does the same for me.
It's a very stirring moment, and it's the triumph of good over evil
It
in
is.
its most childlike form, because Toyland is being invaded, and as Mother Goose says at the beginning, once you leave its portals, you'll never return again. And
Mm.
and the and Toyland, your youth is going to be destroyed by old evil crooked Barnaby and his minions, and through the magic of Laurel and Hardy, they save the day through their blunder. You know,
Yeah, and these two guys whom we love so much are the
yes,
ones who are rescuing us, and it
yes,
is us because we feel drawn into this with them.
yes. They're saving our youth, and yeah, it really just. I mean, I have to confess, when that music starts up, I get a little tear in my eye.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Yeah,
It's in combination with the
yeah.
solar plexus
It's
lurch.
it's just a very joyful movie, and the thing is that a lot of Christmas movies evoke that response, but I don't think anyone quite as much as this. Alistair Sim, the way he plays Scrooge when Scrooge is reformed, that's a similar kind of feeling, but not quite. Doesn't go quite as deep.
It doesn't. It doesn't. No. It's a Wonderful Life. The
Mhm.
denouement to that.
Yeah.
It's close. I don't think
Hmm.
it hits quite as hard as Babes in Toyland does, but it's the nearest. It's the nearest. Um, Scrooge and Alistair Sim. Well, that's a beautiful picture
Yeah.
anyway. And although most people's, despite the joyful redemption of it all, though most people's favorite bit though was still him saying humbug.
I always like the part at the beginning when he wants more bread, half penny extra, no more bread. Well, my son was watching a Muppet Christmas Carol
Oh,
with Michael Caine,
okay.
and if you want to, there are so many clips of Michael Caine being interviewed, and he says, I played that like it was Royal Shakespeare Company. I didn't play against it like it was the Muppets, because I wanted it made it more believable.
Yeah,
And one of his quotes is like this: somebody said, "How are you going to play Scrooge?" He says, "I'm going to play him like a psychopath." And they said, "What?" And he says, "Well, look, I'm running this shop. My clerk is a green frog, and I've got all these rats working for me. What else would I be?" But
but he was absolutely right. The way to play against or off or with a bizarre ensemble cast like the Muppets is to do it with conviction. It's the only way to do it. Otherwise, it won't come off, and it'll look like you're sending it up for one thing. If you try to match the bizarre context, it'll look like you're not taking it seriously, and it won't work because there's no conviction, no sincerity there. So he was
well,
absolutely right.
And I forget who said it. It was another famous actor or comedian, is the fact that Laurel and Hardy played everything so seriously.
That was Eddie
Uh,
Cantor.
yeah, I should have known
Yeah,
that.
you of all people should know
Yeah, me
this.
of all people should have known that.
Yeah,
But
the Cantor's biography, for those who don't know. This man wrote a superb
one of
book about
them.
Eddie Cantor. However,
But yeah, but it's why it is so effective, that they play everything so deadly seriously, and they are in dire straits. They're always in dire straits, and they rarely get ahead. I mean, even the end of Babes in Toyland, they
punctuated
yeah, it's punctuated by
and
Ollie getting
punctured.
by uh, getting a posterior full of darts, metal
Yeah,
tipped darts,
yeah, all up his,
fired out of a cannon.
yeah, not just the posterior, but all the way up the back. And there's Stan,
Yeah,
as ever, trying to help, trying to rescue the situation, help me pulling them out one by one with boop,
with the
boop.
pop. Yeah,
Yeah,
which it
yeah.
actually I've read. I can't imagine it. I told my wife about it last night, and she just shuddered the idea of what they were going to do instead with the cannon. If you recall,
Oh, yes.
they were going to put Barnaby in the cannon and shoot it off, and all his parts would go up on the screen as the end.
Oof,
Yeah, it's a little bit gruesome. So
yes.
I'm sorry I've placed that in everyone's minds now, but forget that now. Forget that.
Yeah,
It's much more effective getting the darts.
yeah. I mean, come on, talk about that would be housebroken and everything else
Yeah,
broken. I think actually.
the yeah, but
Uh,
it's one thing that's very interesting is that the use of Disney properties in Babes in Toyland.
Mickey Mouse
They've
and
got
Three
Mickey
Little
Mouse.
Pigs. Three Little Pigs.
Yeah, it was, of course, a year before the Three Little Pigs were the biggest thing in film, and they're integral to the part.
Yes, they are. Because there was this great friendship between Disney and Laurel and Hardy. There were photographs of them together at one or other of the do's. Which was it? The Roach
The
Studio
Oscars
anniversary,
and
Oscars. Yeah, they
things
were
like that.
they had a great deal of respect and admiration for each other. And of course, a number of the Disney short cartoons have some very well observed Laurel and Hardy cartoon characters in them. And they really nailed how those guys moved and how they timed things. They understood Laurel and Hardy all right.
Sure.
And yeah,
I don't think nowadays it would work, because I think that the Hollywood lawyers would be all over it and saying, and they just said, yeah, sure, use them. And they
yeah,
used they have
yeah,
Mickey Mouse they have a monkey, of course, obviously
yes,
in a
dressed
Mickey
up,
Mouse suit, but
yeah. But that's because they were able to deal with each other personally. It wasn't done through
yeah,
necessarily through corporate communications. Yeah, Disney would just say personally, yeah, fine, you can do this. And they would have approached him, I'm sure, personally, and said, can we do this?
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have
And
to
of
go
course,
through all the official stuff.
I guess he paid an homage to them in his remake.
Oh,
And
yes. Yeah, he got two guys to
pretty
effectively,
much play Laurel and Hardy.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I guess he realised that it was something that he couldn't mess with as well. I suppose he wouldn't want, realised he shouldn't and couldn't change it because that's what people would have expected. Something, that equated to the previous version, I guess. Um, I suppose it's the old adage about if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. No, and I think that Henry Brandon wins over Ray Bolger in the Who's the Better Barnaby sweepstakes.
Yeah.
And although it was probably a big film right around the time that I would have been about 3.
Told you it was coming. Cheers.
And I remember one of my earliest memories is the wallpaper in our nursery was the wooden soldiers from the Disney version. They had printed on wallpaper.
Oh, right.
So
Never
yeah,
saw anything like that. But it probably wasn't marketed
The
here.
wallpaper was better than the film. I'll tell you that. I have fond memories of the wallpaper. I try to do away with thinking of the film. It was Annette Funicello,
Yeah,
although she did
yeah.
do a nice version of "I Can't Do That Some,"
All
which
right.
is in the soundtrack of the Laurel and Hardy version,
Yeah. Only as
but
incidental music,
as incidental music, right?
which was apparently really belonged to a schoolroom scene, unless I've conflated something here. And there was talk of a schoolroom scene in Babes, the Laurel and Hardy Babes in Toyland, that was cut from in the 50s from the reissue. They may well have shot it, but it was not in the original cut. What we see now in the complete print is as per the release. The cutting continuity confirms that. So if, as I suspect may be the case, they did shoot a schoolroom scene, it was never in the final edit. But no, it's in
Well,
the incidental score.
and I think originally Roach thought of using that song to get Laurel and Hardy together because Hardy was supposed to play the Pie Man,
Oh, yes.
and Stan was supposed to be Simple Simon, and that would, you know,
Yeah,
get into
Simple
the whole
Simon.
thing. Give me your penny, I haven't any, and all that, and they would do the song, and that would kind of unite them because now he was beholden to the Pie Man
Yes.
for tasting his wares.
Yes. Yeah. Nice idea. The thing is, though, is that it would be contrary to the usual format of Laurel and Hardy, where it is evident that they already know each other from the outset and have some sort of history. Having them meet for the first time in the context of a plot really wouldn't work. Well, it certainly wouldn't be in keeping with the Laurel and Hardy world that we know. So, say, cute idea, but I just don't think it would have worked.
No, no, really. If is there any of the Laurel and Hardy movies where they don't know each other from the beginning after the early silent shorts?
Don't think so.
So, yeah,
They are
I've read
very
somewhere that
given.
the idea is that these two were in in cribs next to each other from the earliest days of their lives,
Yeah,
which
I
is
mean,
it's much more believable.
yeah, yeah. So yes, it was just a given that these two had always known each other, and saying to bring them together artificially within a plot would be a mistake, a misfire. Uh,
Something more that the Marx Brothers would do.
yeah, I mean, with the Marx Brothers, it works on more than one level in that in a given plot, they are supposedly encountering each other for the first time, but there was something about their manner and some of the gags which suggests that they do already have a shared
Yes.
backstory, and it's merely for the sake of the plot that they are supposed to be meeting for the first time. That it works on two or three levels. It's funny that the I mentioned Peter Sellers earlier on, but the Goon Show on the BBC works in the same way. And this was something that didn't originally occur to me, but it's something that Roger Wilmot mentioned in his book on the series, The Goon Show Companion, which is a wonderful book, by the way. He points out that you've got the three main performers, Peter Sellers, Harry Seacombe, Spike Milligan, playing an ensemble of characters, Eccles, Blue Bottle, Neddy Seagon, Major Bloodknot, Scriptpipe, Thin Moriarty, and others. They're playing those characters who are in turn playing roles in that week's story. And again, those characters who may be supposedly meeting for the first time in the story obviously already know each other in some way.
Mhm.
So, and I see a similar thing in the Marx Brothers. Those guys, yeah, they're comics playing characters who are taking roles in a story, rather like a familiar theatrical ensemble. If you're regulars in the audience, you know that these people are a group who are acquainted and they're just taking roles in that week's play. It's the same sort of principle.
Yeah, yeah,
But
but for Laurel and Hardy, you've really got to. It really helps to know that these guys have been together forever.
yes,
There's never been a time that they were not
yeah,
together. So
yeah. So maybe that was one of the things that Stan Laurel thought was wrong with Roach's intended approach.
Yeah.
Um,
The excuse is that Roach gives is, well, we can't do it without the derbies, which of course is ridiculous because they'd already done it without the derbies.
more than a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some movies, some of the shorts at any rate, but we only see them in nightwear.
Yeah.
They're not even in their street clothes; they're in nightshirts. So the hats aren't going to be an issue there. They're say the previous comic opera Fra Diavolo. There's not a bowler or derby in sight in that.
Yeah.
Tricorn, yes, but not
Yeah.
derbies and bowlers. And I mean, so no, that was yeah, that was what Roach said at least to Anthony Slide in the interview from 1970. I think that was the first time I was aware of Roach's opinions of Babes in Toyland. Tony Slides, who I now know very well, he interviewed Roach, and that it was published in his magazine, The Silent Picture, in 1970. And I read that not too long after it was published, and I was frankly disappointed to read Roach's opinions in these things. But that's how it was. And but yeah, that was when I first became aware of that. And even at the time, I thought, no, that doesn't make sense. Stan Laurel complaining, we're not funny without the derby hats. That never made sense to me at all. And yeah, I think maybe Roach was just looking for, so we say, representative comments
Yeah.
for what the argument was really about.
So, who should watch Babes in Toyland today?
Would it be just too pat for me to say everybody?
Everybody should watch Babes in Toyland today, or March of the
Yes.
Wooden Soldier, and whatever title you want to go by. You should definitely watch it. Especially, do yourself a Christmas favor, a Christmas treat. You know, make sure that it's in your stocking. I'm sure it's probably on YouTube, um,
I believe so.
and you
Uh,
could very easily pick up a DVD. Uh,
yep, there are
Next
plenty of
day
those.
delivery, and
Yes.
and now who should watch it, or not who should watch it, but should you watch it with the kids?
Not necessarily. It depends what you think the kids' fright threshold might be these days, because we're in an age where you can barely sneeze without somebody saying I'm intimidated, and there may be some people who would actually find some of it a bit frightening.
Yeah.
Maybe the 1934 UK censors had a point, because some of those bits are a bit.
Yeah, no,
Um,
the bogeyman, and of course, to once you get past the age of maybe 6 or 7, you can see that they're just ridiculous costumes. But for someone 3 or 4, they come crashing through the window and children are screaming.
yeah, that
It's
might just be a bit much. So yeah, let's say oh, everybody over the age of 6 or something, over the age of 5 or
yeah,
6.
and
Uh,
and reassure them, say it's going to be okay.
it's not real,
No, it's not. It's not.
and the nice people will win, even if they get punctured.
That's right. And Barnaby's got a hand in that.
Well, that's neither pig nor pork.
It's that's what doesn't taste like pig meat to me.
It
What does it taste like?
tastes like pork.
And I
And
let
that's
you
pretty
say that.
grisly.
I say, yeah, because he's not only eating the evidence that he thinks he's probably eating little Elmer.
Oh, well, yeah, because
Yeah,
that's something we hadn't explained. Is that we talk
yeah,
about the 3 little pigs? It does seem at one point like one of them has been ground up into sausage. Their friend Little Elmer. And of course, it's not. These are
yeah.
prop sausages.
It's beef.
Beef. Yes, that's it. They've turned it to be beef. And so it's not Little Elmer, fortunately. Of
Yeah,
course, it might have been
yeah,
some poor cow they were friends with who
yeah.
succumbed, but don't talk
Little
about that.
Mr. Majesty, little Elmer is alive. So,
Yeah, just don't ask about Daisy.
yeah. uh, well, I think we've delivered our Christmas message.
We have. Ho, ho,
Yeah.
ho.
Don't do it
Ho,
too
ho.
much. You'll strain a stomach muscle.
Oh
You
yes,
don't want to
Cupid syndrome.
you don't want to get the Cupid syndrome. You don't want to get that. So,
Oh, no,
but
no, no.
thank you very much, and I'll get plug in for this wonderful book.
Oh, good heavens! Right, I wasn't expecting
That
that.
if you need to know more, and you do need to know more about Laurel and
Yes, you
Hardy.
do. You do.
Yes, you do. So this
the,
wonderful book
the
by
one. Yeah, that's me.
that's him.
Yeah, the one you can still get
There
is
are two
smaller.
versions. There are two versions. This is the good version. So it's the
There
one
is a
with the
small.
it's the one with all the best pictures. Uh,
Yeah, it's
and
yeah that
it was interesting. I was checking to see the availability of it, and if you go onto Amazon, you'll find copies that are going for $70. If you go on eBay, you'll find copies that are going for $10. So and at this stage, as a resale copy, Glenn won't get any money from it.
not a
So
beam.
go for the
Yeah.
cheaper version.
Yeah,
So
actually, the one that I might actually get something for is the later edition of a small format paperback.
yes,
I think that's the one that's officially still in print.
well,
So
I've got both. So yes, you go out and get both. One's good for for your library and everything like that for to show off to friends. Look what I've got. And the other one's good for reading in the bathtub. So
yes, well, compact has its virtues, but especially in a bathroom, you want to leave room for the loofah.
so go out, give yourself a Christmas gift. Get the Laurel and Hardy Encyclopedia and a copy of Babes in Toyland.
Maybe in
And
time. One of the many. There's a choice.
yes, find one, get them all,
Yeah,
compare them, and then you
yeah.
too can do a podcast.
Indeed, just one thing. Do not try and pick up a standard 8 reel copy and a 2 reel Super 8 copy of the beginning, because you can't cut them together.
Yeah, not unless you have two different projectors
Yeah,
to
even
enjoy them
then,
with.
yeah. Either way,
But you can't see them together. Yeah,
no, you
can't
can't.
display them together.
So mutually incompatible, sadly. But
So with
however,
that, we'd like to say a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year
yes,
to everyone watching, even if you're watching this and it's later in the year and it's not Christmas anymore. But if you put
should we
on,
get in early for Easter?
yeah, if you put, well, are there any Easter eggs in the film? But but if you any day you watch Babes in Toyland, it's a little bit of Christmas.
Yes,
So
yes, yes, it
with
is.
that,
In fact, quite a big bit in
it's-
some ways.
yes, and especially in July, watch it
In July,
too.
it's getting early.
And do your Christmas shopping early. So
Indeed.
with that, well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.